Good evening. I'm Curtis McKittrick, and tonight I'll talk briefly about how you can use what are known as put options to protect a holding of stock that you have. So I have a fair amount of clients that come to me with a large block of one stock, and they have two kind of constraints they're working with at the same time, which are that I don't want to sell it to lock in the value that I have now, but I need to make sure that that value is there for me at a certain point in the future. So there are two common reasons people are in this situation. One is if they own the stock in their employer's retirement plan and they want to keep it there for optics reasons within the company that they work for. The other common reason is if they've owned the stock for a very long time and it has since appreciated greatly in value, and selling it would trigger tax implications that really don't come at the right time. And then they might have, say, some financial event that's going to occur in the future, and they intend to use that stock to pay for it. For example, buying a house, putting a child through college. Those are the two most common reasons, but I've seen many of them. In any event, so the position we're in is we have the stock, it's worth a lot of money. We don't want to sell it now, but we need to know that that money will be there for us in the future. All right. So normally that's a pretty risky position to be in because the market goes up and down. We don't get to pick when it goes up and down, and it might go down at the time we need that value to be there. This is typically why the conventional wisdom is that you shouldn't hold a large block of one stock. But let's just say that you do, and you have certain financial and non-financial reasons that you want to keep that stock. What can we do? Well, let's take a look here. So we have a chart in front of us for a stock that is a classic example of one that is relatively stable compared to others that you'll find in the market. If you look on the right, you will see that the price range for this 5-year chart only ranges between $65 and about $95. Compared to most stocks that you'll find in the market, that's a very narrow range for a stock to be in over such a long time period, 5 years. But as you can see by the shape of the line, there is still a fair amount of volatility in that, enough that many people would say it's worth doing something to manage it. So if that's where we're at, we have this stock that we're a little concerned about the volatility, we can buy a put contract on it. So what's a put contract? Well, it makes the most sense when we think of it as an insurance policy. So just like with auto insurance or health insurance or homeowners insurance, an insurance policy is a contract between you and a company where that company agrees to accept some risk on your behalf, and in exchange, you give them money. That's what a put contract is. So what's neat about put contracts is that, like call contracts, those are the two forms of stock options. They're traded on exchange. The contracts themselves are exchange traded on the CBOE, the Chicago Board Options Exchange. And they have standardized prices and other characteristics. So at any time of the trading day, for most large stocks, you can buy a variety of different contracts to insure against either rises or falls in the price, which is very convenient for us. So most of the time when we're in the position that we explained before, we have this stock that's worth a lot of money, we don't want to sell it. Usually it's with a very big company. If it's because the stock's appreciated, well, it's because the company got bigger. And again, most of the time when we have stock in our employer's retirement plan, generally it's big companies that do that. So with few exceptions, generally when we're in this position, we're dealing with stock in a very large company. Now, for very large companies, you can always get a very broad range of time periods covered with the options that you buy in the exchange. So you can buy contracts with different time periods that they'll insure you during, anywhere from a few weeks in the future to up to about 2.5 years most of the time. A few other characteristics of the contracts are just important to know. They specify a price at which you're guaranteed to be able to sell your shares anytime during the life of the contract. They have an expiration date, so you can sell the shares at that price anytime up to and including that expiration date. And then the other thing is that one contract always covers 100 shares. options, calls and puts, all options on stock always cover 100 shares. So when we look at the price, just to know how much we would pay for one contract, the price that we're quoted is always for one share. To find out how much we would pay for the entire contract, just move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So again, I just want to use this particular stock as an example. The day that this chart is from, the stock closed at $77.24. So the price in the put contracts, the price that we're guaranteeing for us when we buy that contract, they move in increments. So, you don't get to pick exactly how many dollars and cents it will be, but you can usually get pretty close to what you want to protect. So closest we can get today to $77 and what was it? 24 cents is this $77.50. It's pretty close. So if we own 100 shares of that stock and we wanted to protect it for $819, we could buy a contract that would protect those 100 shares. In other words, anytime before Friday, January 20th of 2023, we know that we can sell those shares for $77.50 each. Depending on exactly where the market is at that time, sometimes it makes a little more sense to ensure a slightly lower price for those shares, let's say $60 in this case. We'd only pay $200 for that contract that promises us we can sell the shares at $60. So again, this is going to vary depending on your situation, your objectives, but we can sit down and talk about that a little more later if need be. What's nice is that whatever price you end up buying in a contract that you have there, you can go ahead and budget for that then. So let's say in our example, we have all this stock. We don't want to sell it now, but we intend to use it to pay for a house sometime in the summer of 2022, about a year from now. So if we buy this contract here, we spend our $200, we get a contract that says we can sell our 100 shares for $60 each. We know that we will get $6,000 and no less, although we could get more from selling those shares. And we can go ahead and budget it. As you can see by now, these are made up numbers. $6,000 doesn't really apply to house purchase unless we're talking about maybe closing costs or something. But in any event, I just wanted to show you, roughly some ballpark numbers you might expect to pay for stock in a bigger company, how much you might expect to pay, for certain levels of protection. Obviously, this is different for every stock and is different every day for every stock. So again, a lot of details here that we'll go through together if you decide to go this route. But I just wanted to show you an example of how this can work. Now, there are a few other details. If we decide to go ahead with this, we do have to get your account approved for options trading. It's required by the exchange in which the options are traded. There's a document we'll go over together just where you get a little bit more into the details of what the contracts are and how they work. Once you understand that, we fill out a form that you'll sign. We submit it to the broker for you. And it generally takes 2 or 3 business days for them to process that approval. But once you're approved, you can go ahead and start buying these contracts to insure against market risk with the stock that you own. So if that's something you feel will help you achieve your financial objectives, give me a call. Let's sit down and talk about how we're going to make it happen. Thanks for joining tonight and have a good one.